Hey, good morning. Yes, up and at 'em. Today is Friday, August 30th. And shoot, September 1st is almost here. So thanks again for all the comments and stuff. I've been reading all of them, and we're trying all of them. So I thought today we'd talk about what makeup is there about a good mechanic. Because you have some, what I call half-assed, you have some mediocre, you have some alright, you have some good, and then you have some great mechanics. It's kind of like any field. You have a split. But what are the traits? What is it that can take you from mediocre to a great mechanic? So stay tuned. This should be fun. Alrighty, welcome back. Yes, it is. This is the weekday, Monday through Friday. My name is Eric. It's available on podcast as well. Today is Friday, August 30th. And today we're going to be talking about what I see when it comes to finding a really good mechanic or becoming a really good mechanic, all right? So some of the traits that you need to work on and to develop is, one, the tenacity of wanting to figure out how something works. See, now, anybody can tear something apart, right? But when it comes to putting it back together, that's what separates the men from the boys, per se. Because it's everything that we're going to talk about today is, can you make yourself a better whatever? Yes, absolutely. A lot of reasons that you can't are either nobody's taking the time to show you or tell you, giving you the tools to work with, gave you a mentor. I have yet to see anybody that you could not teach and at least have them become a mediocre mechanic. When you start looking at really good and great mechanics, those are people that strive to do their best in that field. And they enjoy what they're doing. And a lot of times they're very anal. And you have to be anal. Just throwing a thing together and just say, I don't need a head gasket. That should be all right. An anal person is going to say, no, you've already had the heat to it. It's time to put a new head gasket on it if you've got it that far apart, right? Why not? Because you're going to have to tear it back apart. So that is the other thing is, how do you become good at anything? It's a simple question and a simple answer is repetition. There were a lot of things that I sucked at in life when I was younger. But the more times I did it, and I was shown the correct way, and a better way, an easier way, by good carpenters, good repairmen, good what have you, opened my eyes to look at it a different way. And that's what life is all about, Why are some guys really good in some fields and they suck at others? Because they enjoy doing what's in that field. Whether it's a race car mechanic, automotive mechanic, bicycle mechanic, four-wheeler, snowmobile, lawn and garden. They're all mechanics. But they've gone in their separate niche field because that's what they enjoy doing. And they become really good at it because they kept redoing it. And it's kind of like, when we used to, up here, snowmobiling used to be a really big thing, right? And we used to put a lot of miles on a sled. And one of the things that we did every summer, as a group of guys, we grabbed some beer and some chips and that. We'd pull the engines out of our sleds and rebuild them. Whether they needed it or not, it was a cheap, would most likely get you through the whole following winter with no problems with a fresh build. And it would save you, being stuck on one of the trails where you've got, 6,000 miles on that engine and it's never been refreshened. But a lot of those guys that were doing that went into that field. Whether it's working for a Polaris dealership that sells Polaris snowmobiles, becoming their mechanic, or whether having their own shop. The big thing is you don't want to chase the money because you're going to be disappointed. Because even if you get the money, it's not going to be what you thought it was going to be, and it's not worth the money. And if you hear me talk about it enough, it's not getting from point A to B. It's the journey that's involved. That's where you have to enjoy how you got there, the people you met along the way, the new tools you got, the new mentor that showed you how to do certain things, that made it easier and more understandable. And a mentor is just somebody like, that's old fogey like me. I've got enough time on this earth to have plenty of experiences, good and bad, all right? We want both of them because we learn from both of them. If it's a good experience, then we're going to continue doing it. If it's a bad experience, maybe we find a different way of doing it, right? But with those two comes wisdom of picking the way to do it the next time. So if it was a bad experience, wisdom is going to kick in and say, okay, we tried X, Y, and Z, and they didn't work, so now what? Well, just quit trying it. Quit trying that route. If you can't find a solution to it, find a detour around it. So along with other traits, one would be the willingness to learn, right? Because if you're not interested in learning, then you're probably not going to do as well as someone that is interested in doing that kind of work. We each need to find our place in life, all right? And if you hate what you're doing, why are you doing it? We all have had stepping stone jobs. And that is, we had to take sucky jobs to get to the job that we want. And it's a lot easier to get a new job when you're working than when you're not working, right? So you need to get into a field that you enjoy. And along with that will be the willingness to learn new things. You need to be open when a mentor is willing to give you some advice. Shut up and listen. And like most mentors, and I consider myself a mentor now, I say over and over, take what you can use and leave the rest. Make whatever you can take from what I've done in my experiences and make it your own. You can't copy what I've done in life and get the same results. If you're wanting to become a great repairman for, let's say, small engine, lawn and garden, side by sides, all that, then you're going to take a little different path than I did. I love business. I've got a bachelor's in IT. I've got the background, I've got the aptitude to learn. I have the willingness to learn. And the biggest thing is I compete with myself. I don't compete with anybody else. Whereas you're your own person, all right? And you may not like the business side of it. You're more interested in the repair side. And that is doing a excellent repair job on an engine per se, or a lawnmower that comes through. And you're really not that keen on customer service, billing, and the business side of it. I focused on both. But the key with me is, and I totally understand it, I don't consider myself a great mechanic. I deem myself as successful in business and successful in learning different things that repair mechanics know and do. And this past year, I've had the willingness to learn new things. Be open. And not be afraid to ask, one of you, what do you think? Because this kind of got me stumped. I am not the Grand Poobah. I do not know everything. Nor am I claiming I know everything. There's a big difference. This channel is more about you than it's about me. But I get just as much as I give from all of you. But that's part of learning. That's part of growing. You have to have that openness or that willingness to learn. And granted, some people just, the aptitude isn't there for tearing things apart and putting them back together. And if that's the case, you need to look at what else in that field could you do. Because not everybody is made to become a great mechanic. Great mechanics are years in the making. We talked about trade schools versus hands-on. And it's kind of across the board is both. Why not both? I mean, classroom and that gives you a taste, all right? And it shows you how. If you got a good teacher and it's a good course. But it gives you the book smarts, all right? Now what you lack is the hands-on. Or maybe you grew up tearing things apart, making them run by putting them back together, right? And you've decided to go further in that area and do trade schools. A lot of Ford garages, car dealerships, they send their guys out and they pay for their training to become master mechanics and this and that. In the small engine department, there's also trade schools. And there's also Briggs, Kohler, all of them put on classes. So there's always something there. You have to be willing to admit you don't know everything, all right? Even great mechanics will tell you that. And you know what separates mediocre from great mechanics? Is great mechanics know when to stop working on something and go work on something else. See, if you get frustrated with something that you're working on, you could spend all day and overlook the obvious. But if you just stop when you start getting frustrated and jump onto something else, you're probably going to have that aha moment. I do. that, wait a minute, let's go back and check that real quick. Whereas if you're staying focused on that one engine and is driving you squirrely, or that one lawnmower, you could waste a whole day and still not have the answers. So you also had to have the ability to stop this, start that, and not get frustrated, because when you get frustrated, all of a sudden all these different emotions come forward and you're no longer enjoying what you're doing. So you're not a lot of times seeing the obvious. So I'm going to start wrapping this up. I mean, if you want to become great at anything, you have to have the willingness to learn, openness to learn, hook up with some good mentors, compete with yourself every day, and get into a field that you enjoy. Probably that's the biggest. Get into a field that you enjoy doing. And that way, you look forward to it every day, going back to it, right? And also, book smart and hands-on are both important. And the book smart way I look at it is it gives you a more broader outlook on the new tools that are out there and new procedures and this and that. But anybody with a computer and Google and YouTube, somebody's done it before, and you can keep up to date on the new stuff coming out just by simply Googling it and just in your free time looking to see what is new out there. If you're a Briggs mechanic, they have technical sheets that they post quite often on different engines, stuff that they're seeing, stuff to look out for. If you don't read those, you're probably not going to know. And you may have an engine, a Briggs engine, that has a problem, and you can't figure out what the problem is, but had you read the bulletin that was posted, that the PVC valve was known to screw up. That's what I mean. It's all available at your fingertips, if you so desire. So on that note, you guys have a great Friday. Enjoy the weekend. Stay safe. Enjoy your Monday off for most of you. And on that note, we'll catch you later.